lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan,
And I'm Manny.
and we are here to talk about Daredevil number one. Well, the latest Daredevil number one, the relaunch post the Chip Zdarsky run. Saladin Ahmed, Aaron Kuder, and Jesus Arbatov is the
That's
creative
how I would
team.
pronounce it.
Yeah, as the creative team, and obviously, like you got this beautiful John Romita Jr. cover. There's also a really awesome Frank Miller cover, some other cool variants. I love Daredevil. I've been reading Daredevil, since I was a kid. I think the first
Same.
like ongoing that I picked up was when Kevin Smith jumped on when Marvel Knights relaunched, and I've basically consistently been reading Daredevil since. I've gone back, obviously, with Frank Miller stuff and older stuff as well. But the Anna Centine, John Romita Jr. stuff is really great too. But
That's where I started.
yeah, the thing that I like about the Daredevil run is it's consistently I probably going back to Frank Miller has had like really good runs, and I think if you start, I mean, just starting with Bendis is one I can remember. It's like they always leave Matt in not necessarily a fucked off position, but they always leave him in like a very open ended position, like where it's like, now here you take over and you deal with
Yeah,
this.
I was gonna mention that the title has a what you might call it a history of doing that. It's part of almost like, I think maybe it's an unspoken thing now, because you're right. I mean, it happened when like when Kevin Smith handed it over to I think it was Bendis, and then
David
Bendis to
Mack,
Brubaker.
David Mack had it
David
first.
Mack, that's right. And then Bendis, and then Ed Brubaker took over too.
Yeah, and then Andy Diggle.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So, I mean, this new number one is definitely tracking with that. And
yeah.
I also got to mention, I didn't really read a lot of the previous run. So I
Okay,
came
so
into this pretty cold, having been, not reading Daredevil maybe for like a good couple of years. I just didn't add, I never picked up the last run, man. And I know it was great. I was kind of waiting for the trade. So I'm probably going to read the Zardowski stuff soon. But I came into this with like maybe 2 years of not knowing what the hell's going on with Matt Murdock.
it's interesting because I wonder if my experience with this book would be different or how I would feel about this. But like I said, consistently have read Daredevil for years. So, for anybody I mean, I guess most people should know, like she's also goes by Daredevil now. She's the, woman without fear. Her and
Yeah.
Matt got married. They were going to take down the Hand together. He sacrificed himself, and that's all talked about in this issue. And I think they did a good job of kind of catching you up and giving you
Yeah.
like the bare minimum. But
Mhm.
obviously, like the last issue, and I did a review of the last issue of Zdarsky's run too. Everybody thought he was dead, but somehow he got brought back. And Elektra finds him in this church, and because she like sees him walking down the street, and she follows and then realizes he's alive, but like she's letting him kind of letting him have a sense of peace. um
Mhm.
so yeah, I think the title is good. Introductory rights. And he doesn't remember his time as Daredevil, but he did in the last issue of Zdarsky's, where you see him as a priest. He does, his senses start, like he can hear stuff really crazy. He starts realizing something's up. He kind of recognizes Elektra, but doesn't really know who she is.
Yeah.
And that continues over in here. And like I think we were talking about this before we recorded, right? Like you haven't really read a lot of Saladin Ahmed's stuff before,
No.
right? Like I've read a little bit, not a ton. I've read some of his Miles Morales stuff, and I kind of fell off at a certain point. I think like most fans, we all like kind of speculate who's going to take over a run, who we would like to see take over a run,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
this isn't a slight against Ahmed, but like his name was not something that I thought of. I didn't go into this with maybe as much excitement as I would have with other writers. Not trying to, trying to knock anybody, but I will say, like, this is it's a good story. It's a good, start to this run. It's oversized, which I think sometimes benefits a book, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think this issue needed to be as long as it was. It could have maybe been spread over a couple issues, in my opinion.
I agree on the length. I liked it just fine too. I don't think I was blown away. I do think I'm probably gonna pick up the second issue to see where it goes.
Oh, for sure.
Only
Yeah, I'll
because,
definitely pick it
yeah,
up.
because I've been wanting to get back into Daredevil, and this honestly, if that's what you've been wanting to do, is a good starting point. And like you said, there's some. I think there's some pacing issues because of the length, but overall, it's a solid issue, man. And it's an interesting setup. I mean, it's kind of crazy that in Daredevil's entire history, no one's really thought of making him a priest before, which is like it seems like such a no brainer. It's
It's
like,
definitely an interesting choice for
yeah,
Matt, to not be a lawyer, and like his memory's not there, so like he is basically somewhat
but
of a
he's still
voice,
choosing a
right?
role that involves like some sort of judgment. You know what I mean? Like you can see
Yeah.
that it tracks with his
I
personality
think
too. You know, like
it kind of seems like it plays on when he ran that community center, remember, during the necessity.
yes,
So like I was getting
yeah,
those kind of vibes, which I thought
correct, yeah.
was pretty cool. Um
I
I'm a
like this
huge fan of,
supporting character too. This other priest. I
yeah,
mean, obviously we don't know what's up with him, but I do like him.
some
It's hard
things.
to live up to too, like how many people have come in with such great concepts with Daredevil, and like with Brubaker, you had him in prison. Like
Well, I
the,
think that goes back to what I've said before. I'm fine with you taking a month or 2 months off.
yes, dude, correct. I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember you specifically said that when we talked about the Hulk,
Talked about
and that
Hulk,
was your
talked
problem
about
with the
Thor, you know?
yeah, where it's like you don't give enough time for the previous arc to like give its last breath, almost like to breathe
But
and finish off.
what's interesting though is because maybe it's different because I'm reading one run to the next, you coming in. So maybe as a new reader that hasn't read the character in a while, it's not gonna feel that way. But for
That's a
somebody
good
like,
that's a good point. I wouldn't have thought of, and you're right because you and I are coming at this from slightly different perspectives. I mean, we both love Daredevil, but you read the Zardowski run, you read the one before that. I didn't, so
yeah, seeing
so
that
to me,
I kind of somewhat skipped the Donny Cates Hulk, right, between Al Ewing.
yeah,
So I was really super stoked on the Philip Kennedy Johnson or the Thor. Like I wasn't reading, I read some of the beginning of Cates, but I wasn't reading it for a while. So to kind of jump back in, I'm like, okay, cool, But yeah, I totally agree. Getting the baton passed to you off of a lengthy run that was really well received, there's going to be some pressure, especially in a book like Daredevil, where, like I said, has consistently had one good run after another. You want to put your stamp on it, right? But I guess in a way, you kind of have to like first you got to get out of the way where the previous writer left you, and then you can jump into like where you would like to take the character moving forward. I like the scenes here, like where
yeah,
Matt's defending the one of the girls in the church that's kind of hiding out there. I like this, like in his glasses, the way you can see the ripple effect of his senses.
yeah. There's some. I was gonna say that's probably a good moment to mention that I think Aaron Kuder really is doing a great job too with the art.
Yes.
It's very clean.
Doesn't it feel a
Um,
little bit different, like than some of his previous stuff too? I don't know about
I'm
you, but it feels a
I,
little more. I don't want to
there's
say,
more weight to it.
yeah. It's a little bit more of a refined line, I guess. Like it looks like he's using a little bit less line work or a little smoother of
Yeah,
the line. I don't know
and
compared to
there's
like his
also
Guardians.
the thick outlines for the characters too. Like you really
Mm-hmm.
see like a depth. Like it gives it a very clean edge. It's a very slick looking book, and I like the coloring too.
Yeah, the coloring is fantastic. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is the stuff right here.
this page is great.
So this is where I started to really get into this issue. And that's why I was saying
Yeah,
like the beginning part of the issue kind of like a little bit dragged. I get it. We're trying to like lay out the groundwork of like who the supporting cast is going to be, or who the
like
new.
honestly, like that little intro could have even been like a free comic book day kind of thing. You know what I mean? And like or something,
Yeah.
like you said, just make this shorter. Now I'm realizing what you said about the length of the issue.
Yeah. But this is just fantastic,
No,
dude.
this is a great page, man. Like just the way it's centered with the big image and like like the way it flows and
And this is
it's almost
this writing that Saladin does on these pages too. I really like because he's like these guys aren't fighters. It's over before it begins. I hear their bones break, feel the splintering under my knuckles. I tell myself I'm doing God's
yeah.
work. I
It's
tell myself I don't like it. Like this is where the writing really started to
this is
dig.
where it's like now he's doing nods towards like Miller's run too, which was like
Yeah,
had this sort of hard boiled feel. And I love this characterization he's doing of Matt here too, because I love when writers and the TV show even did this with Matt is where like there's an element of Matt that likes the violence, and I like when writers bring that up.
Mhm.
Like his father was a fighter, and I think it's in Matt's blood to enjoy fighting on some level.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, dude. And like as you know, he fucking takes care of these dudes where like and they just kind of accept that he knows how to do it. And like the
Yeah,
kids, like nobody really like questions it. I thought that was kind of funny. You know, the kids think it's cool that I broke people's bones. Ashley's safe, but I've still failed. I'm teaching them all the wrong lessons, and God is watching. God and the devil. As much as I said, like I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about this run, like this is where I'm like, okay, like this is I was gonna buy the next issue regardless, but
yeah,
this is where I'm like, okay, maybe this is gonna be something I didn't expect, and it is gonna be a run that I can really sink my teeth into. And I love, Elektra watching over, and now like
yeah.
like I said, she says he's earned this, and then this is a great
Nice
page.
page too. It's like a nice, simple, clean page, but the
Yeah,
choice of what he's doing.
yeah.
Also, like the next page with like the front of her costume coming down like that into the next panel.
Yeah, and it does a good this is a good recap page to kind of like
Yes,
where we kind of left Matt in the previous run and how he got to this point.
love that image of Elektra jumping too.
I know,
The
dude.
great use of the black space.
And then like we didn't mention it, but they were talking about like what's been keeping the church going, and some like millionaire benefactor has been donating money, and the priest was questioning Matt like, hey, do you know where it's coming from? It's like, I told you before, I don't know. It's been coming from Elektra. So she's been where she's
Yeah,
getting the money from. It maybe not always be the best, but she's getting it to Matt to kind of keep it, going, because she wants to continue to watch over him, right? Like that's all she can do, because she doesn't want to take this from him. And she's even talking about God, and I think that's, I
yeah,
think God and religion and faith is always something that's going to be prevalent in a Daredevil book, and I think that
yeah.
it's the core of the character. So
And it works because he is a. I mean, despite everything you've seen, I think Matt is still like as a character a person of faith, and as a character he believes in God. It's part of his fundamental like traits.
and then we get this weird shit going on. Like this is where I'm like, what the fuck is happening, dude? What is she seeing? Is it the devil? Like that's
Right?
like
I
I
didn't know what to think of it first. It almost looked like.
looked like
I mean,
Loki.
yeah, I thought it was like Loki or like I mean, it could be like an Asgardian, but it's some kind of a demon.
This is a great shot too, from like the way Elektra's kneeling.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I would say is that her size look a little pointy, but what she did in the previous series was dulled them down, because she wasn't going to kill while she was Daredevil, right? So she dulls her
Oh,
size down, and I mean, I'm not trying to nitpick, but they should be dulled down, because that's what she's doing, because she's fighting crime. She's not taking lives
yeah.
anymore. But yeah, these are some great pages, dude. And like now she's like, this demon is gonna take over, and
Yeah.
we get back to Matt's apartment, and things are starting to come to the forefront of his mind, where he's starting to remember. And then
She looks creepy
there's
there in the
oh my
corner.
god, yeah, just sitting in the shadow, and you can see even her shadow looks like,
Yeah, it's like right away as soon as I saw the image, it's like that's not really her just by the way she's drawn, like that smile, calling him Father Matthew.
see, he senses Satan's presence with the strange senses God has given me. I see the things, or I see this devil's
See,
horns
I
and
mean, it's an
claws.
interesting idea that right now this Matt thinks these things were given to him by God. Like what else would he think if he can't remember the accident, if he can't remember any of that?
Yeah, I know this has nothing to do with the issue, but like Black Widow's gonna be Venom. Like that's crazy to me, dude. I don't. I mean, I'm gonna read it for sure. I haven't been reading Venom this entire new run, but I love Thorn Grunbeck. I like her writing a lot, so I'm gonna have to check this out. Plus, I love.
Yeah, I have been reading Venom, and they wrote a fill-in issue, last issue that was a lot of fun, and Venom's just been fun, man. That's a side note, but check it out.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely. I'm definitely gonna be checking this issue out. We'll definitely talk about it on the show.
Yeah, yeah, man. I think that would be a good one too.
And like, so here, like now that he's talking to Electro, who's possessed, he's like, do I know you? Because he can it's her smell that has
Yeah,
triggered, his sense of smell with her. And as she or it tells him, just relax, that's where he attacks. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I know the sound of your name. It's Elektra. And like now his memories are coming. What in the name of God? What are you? And I love how each artist that does Daredevil always depicts his radar sense different.
It's interesting, and I think as an artist, that might be one of the things you look forward to do. I
Mm-hmm.
love this page too, like the way that they're both, like the way he's depicting the
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 devil.
possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then like the way on the following page where it's like her body coming out of his head, but the rest of his body is still there. It's really creepy, man. It's a
It's
really
it
striking
is
image.
it is really creepy.
Yeah,
What I think is really awesome is as he senses that it's a devil, he's now performing an exorcism.
dude, that to me was awesome. Where it's like I didn't expect that, and like it's interesting,
It's
and it's
funny.
like, oh,
The more we're talking, the more I'm liking this this comic. You know?
no, it's pretty wild, man. It's
Yeah.
pretty wild, and it's different enough from all the other Daredevil runs I've read that I think it's taking some new ground here, man. It's really heavily going into like the Catholic mythology of it all with the
Yeah.
exorcism, the demons and stuff. I mean, remember Kevin Smith really explored the Catholicism too, in
Oh
Daredevil's
yeah, for
legacy.
sure. I love the way the devil's talking too. Why are you fighting, Maddie? You know what's at the end of
Yeah,
this road. Broken bones on rooftops, shot and stabbed, stabbed and shot, never getting a night's sleep. Who needs all that? Not you. And then Mateo like catches him. He's fucking knocked out on the floor. Right, see you in the morning. And this is another page that I really dug. Him closing the door, and then you see the specter of Daredevil. I thought that
there's
the
a so
coloring on here is great.
big JR influence on this page too to me for some reason. I love the next image too because I always love Matt in this iteration.
But it's just funny because like he doesn't know how to feel about his life as Daredevil because like now that it's seeping back in, like so
Yeah,
it's like there's like this push and pull. And yes, this is great to see because obviously like this is to me a callback to The Man Without Fear and that version of
yeah.
that.
Are those candlesticks he's holding?
I think so. I didn't even, yeah, I was wondering what they were, but yeah, I guess you're
Yeah,
right. But
again,
I
I just
love,
realized.
but again, like the writing here, with every stride
And
I take toward her, my senses remind me of who I was, of who I am. The smell of rooftop air,
I also I noticed Matt. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
the feel of my hair being pulled back by a mask, the sounds of traffic from 6 stories up. Like it's just he doesn't, and like even calling out that he doesn't remember where she lives, but his body does. Like it's
I love
muscle
that.
memory.
And I love that he's been really good on the interior monologue here too with Matt. Like something that is also a part of the character. A lot of character writers will write him that way. It's got that Noir influence. I was gonna mention, like, I didn't really notice until now, but he's wearing his priest collar, which is actually kind of badass. He's like,
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that either.
yeah, it gives that's an extra little detail that actually makes it cool. It's like he's like a vigilante priest right now.
Love this too, like at the top on the
That made me laugh. That's a good panel too, with him jumping into the skylight. Like this whole sequence is a lot of fun with a lot of action.
it is. It's just so weird watching this giant head and then her body moving.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to depict this. Like is that what Matt's seeing, or is he just seeing? Like it's interesting to think about those things too. Is that just a visual for us?
Yeah, that is interesting to think about. But it's like weird because this devil's like saying like, he's
Well, Matt's
basically
blind; he
telling,
wouldn't be able to see it.
yeah,
So
he's telling him like you're tired, you just need some peace and quiet. Like he
yeah,
just wants Daredevil gone because like God's the one that brought Matt back after he was gonna sacrifice himself in hell. And see, like even this, I've shirked my duty, let myself forget who I was because that was less work than remembering. I've been lazy, slothful, but no more.
I like the light coming down on him, like like
Yeah.
he's being having like
Uh-huh.
a divine moment. This is the moment, dude, when he performs the exorcism, and he just goes into it.
This looks
I
crazy
love,
too, the mouth.
yeah, I love that dude. Like it's stretching out.
And at the end, amen. The demon's just on fire. And then he's wearing the old school yellow costume as
Yes,
he's
dude. I didn't notice that until right now either. That's great.
and then look, I mean, he's even saying like oh, holy crap, you actually got off your ass and did it. And it's like the others are going to be a hell of a lot harder.
I wonder how far Mephisto can be behind, with all this shenanigans.
Now Electra's free. I love we get this like this one-on-one between her, like, she's had basically washed the stink of the devil off her. And now,
Yeah,
like now that he remembers, he's like I think what's super important to note too is like he says that he remembers her more powerfully than anything. He remembers them, together. And
yeah,
their connection is super powerful because it goes all the way back to, his college days.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
that's his love of his life, pretty much.
like look, she's like, yeah, I'll still make sure that the church will go on once you leave. He's like, I'm not leaving. Like he has different plans. And like even that, it's showing how much she loves him, that she's willing to, let him do what he needs to do. And we
I
go
like
back.
this makeshift priest Daredevil costume. I hope it sticks around for a little bit. It's fun to see how he uses that scarf to make the mask. Like,
I
but
mean,
then
I
again,
feel like probably not, like based on the next couple pages, but
I
he's
was
like,
about to say that too, but I'm like,
yeah,
hey, it was, like I was about to say, well, I do just suddenly remember what happens on the page turn. So
yeah. So he's like something deep leads into a box he only half remembers hiding, goes up to a rooftop, and then we're getting the classic Daredevil costume back.
yeah,
And I really loved what Marco Cicchetto did with his redesign for the last series. But I mean, you really can't beat this.
no, dude, this is classic right
Yeah.
there, man. That's Wallywood all the way.
And then hoping God will forgive him for how good he feels wearing the skin of the devil. This is really
This is a
good.
great page too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the fucking cops are coming for him.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's,
it ends on a good cliffhanger, man. So
yeah. No, this is a great. So this book surprised me. I kind of went into it not knowing what I was going to expect. And
so did I, man.
I'm, and look, I'm always very precious of a run when it ends, especially when it's like one that I really love. And Zdarsky's run was to me like top notch. I'm excited to see where Ahmed and Kuder go with this because it's an interesting turn for Matt. So I'm definitely excited for the next
Yeah,
issue.
I'm excited to read the series too. It feels great to be reading Daredevil again, and I like this take. Definitely, I have theories as to what's going on. Like, I don't know how you feel about that other priest, but I kind of have my suspicions about him. But that could also just be a red herring. We'll see. But I'm definitely on board, and I'm interested to see what other elements of Daredevil he's going to bring in and how. I mean, we're still sure we're going to get our nods to the Kingpin and all this stuff. So I'm excited to see where it all goes and to see what other Daredevil elements are brought in.
Yeah, bringing up Kingpin, like I hope they kind of let him rest a little bit in
Yeah,
terms of being a
I get
presence,
that.
just because like he was so much a factor in the last run. To me,
See,
it's
I
kind
didn't
of
know that, so yeah, okay,
yeah. To me, it's kind of like when somebody takes over Batman. I think they should wait a long time before they do Joker. Like that's kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
at least if the previous run was Joker heavy. But a Kingpin was like very prominent. I mean, there was times where it's like almost full issues were almost entirely focused on him. So
Okay.
I'd be cool if they kind of like just for like a little while let the character rest. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, hell, just ride this supernatural wave and kind of steep him in that world too. It's an interesting thing to do with Daredevil.
yeah, but if you haven't been picking up Daredevil, this is a great time to jump on. If you love the Zdarsky run and want to see the continuation of where he left Matt, this is a great start to the run. I'm excited to see where this goes and go pick it up at your local comic shop. Also, make sure you follow social media, like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, we're out.
See you next time, guys.